Hello guys, this is super exciting. We are back with episode 2 of Tyxtalks. It is Self-Care Sunday, which is very quickly become my favorite day. I just want to hop into it really quickly because right after I announced I'd be doing this on IGTV, I learned that IGTVs can only be 15 minutes. So this is only going to be 15 minutes. So let's see if we can do that, because last week I had to cut it. It was like 30 minutes and I had to cut a bunch out. So it was a little rougher than I wanted it to be, but today we can make it under 15 minutes. We definitely can. I have a bunch of notes right here that I would like to go over, which is super exciting. Today's topic is going to be, I think I announced what I was going to do this week last week, but I don't think I stuck with what I said I was going to do just because of some inspiration I had this week. A lot of things have happened this week for me. This was a very eventful time. I'm not really sure, just a lot of things happened. So I came up with a subject that we're going to be talking about today with my experience from the last week, just things that had been occurring, just things that kept coming up in my life with my friends or with family, something that I just kept noticing. So I want to talk about that this week, and it's actually a really, really huge topic, and I have lots of notes on it. So what we'll be talking about today is standards, the standards that we hold ourselves to, but we don't seem to hold others to those standards for whatever reason that is, and how to be more gentle with yourself, and how to be more understanding with yourself and not hold yourself to such unrealistic standards. So though I used to be really, really bad about this, I was always beating myself up no matter what mistakes I made, or no matter what good things I made. My mistakes always outweighed those because I just felt like, oh, I'm a failure. So this was a huge thing I had to work on, and I've gotten so much better at it. You just have to learn your mindset. You have to fix your mindset. So you have to think about, you need to start regularly questioning the things that you feel, and start regularly questioning the things that you feel or think about yourself. So you have to question, what are these feelings? Where did these feelings come from? Where did these thoughts about myself originate from? You have to go back to when you were small. Think about what's changed since I was born that could have caused me to have all of these beliefs about myself. And that's a really, really deep thing to do, and it takes a lot of practice to learn how to trace back your steps. Something that I learned through therapy was whenever I feel a feeling, a negative feeling especially, I think back to when I was a child, or think back to whenever I can remember another time that I felt that feeling. And that's usually what causes, or what led to me still having that kind of emotion, because I didn't deal with it then. So a lot of trauma that you don't deal with as a child, you still have all of those emotions built up, and then later on when something similar happens, all of those emotions come out, and you tend to be crazy or overreacting and things like that. So you have to deal with things. Even if it's 20 years later, you can deal with those things and fix them from when you're a child, even though you should have then. It's never too late to face your fears and face those monsters inside of you that are causing you issues. So I'm already in 3:40. Oh my gosh. So something that my therapist told me was, remember that your feelings make sense in the context of your own trauma. So what that means is that you have natural responses to your trauma. Okay? That doesn't make you broken. That doesn't make you crazy. You have a natural response to your trauma, whatever that may be. That does not make you insane or just too emotional or whatever it is. So be easy with yourself. You've been through a lot. You have to be understanding of the trauma you've been through. So this leads me to, This leads me to the mindset. I call it the maybe mindset. So I found that changing or shifting the way you say things to yourself can really have a huge difference on how you feel about yourself. So I call it the maybe mindset. So maybe is a huge word for me. So when I have this black or white thinking, this all or nothing thinking, I have to insert the word maybe. Maybe I'm not broken. Maybe I'm not undeserving. Maybe I'm not a failure. So let's get into that really quickly. I'm going to give you a maybe statement, a question to ask yourself, and an answer to your maybe statement. So, for example, maybe you aren't behind. Maybe the world's timeline that has been created and fed to you was not built for everyone to succeed within. So maybe you're not behind. Maybe you're just comparing yourself to someone else, and because they're ahead of you, you feel like you are failing or you are behind. But why are you going at this person's timeline when everyone's timeline is different? So maybe the world's timeline wasn't created for all of us. Maybe it wasn't fed to you in the correct way. Maybe the real issue isn't the timeline, or isn't where you are on the timeline, but the timeline itself. Maybe the issue is the timeline. So don't hold yourself to standards that don't even correlate with your life. They have nothing to do with you. So stop trying to do things when other people do it. Create your own timeline. So ask yourself whenever you're feeling like this, where did I get this idea that I'm supposed to follow everyone else's timeline? Another one, maybe you're not broken. Maybe you're not broken. Maybe you've just gone through some things that have really, really, really hurt you deep down, and you still need some time to figure out who you are now and who you are after that trauma. And you need time for that. So give yourself time to heal. That doesn't mean you're broken. So in that case, ask yourself, what's happened in my life that might make XYZ difficult for me? And how can I have compassion for myself in this situation? Because I know that if someone I love comes to me and they're like, I didn't make the deadline on this, I'm gonna be like, it's okay, you'll do it next time. So why is it that when I don't make the deadline, I'm like, God, why am I such a failure? Why do I give so much compassion to the people I love but not myself? Because I don't love myself the way I love others. This is a hypothetical. This is something I was really, really bad about. Another one, maybe you're not all bad. Maybe you are imperfect, flawed, messy, crazy sometimes, emotional, but you're just a human trying to figure things out like everyone else. Maybe you're just human. Maybe you're just human. Is that so crazy to think about? So you have to be patient with yourself. You have to be really, really forgiving with yourself, because things get really crazy and messy, and that doesn't mean that you're bad. That doesn't mean you're a failure. So in that case, ask yourself, what am I measuring success with? How do I measure success? And what do I need to do to feel like I am successful? Because everyone's measure of success is different. Some people think success is having your own business and having a lot of money and not having family, because that's just beneath them. Some people think that having family is successful. They don't care about the job. So this person's gonna think this person's gonna think this person is really unsuccessful, and vice versa. But they don't care about the other person because they feel like they are successful. Does that make sense? That was worded poorly. I'll work on that. Another one. I just want to get through this because it's only 15 minutes. Maybe you are not a failure. Maybe you're not failing. Maybe we just live in this world where we've been given unrealistic standards and created unreasonable expectations of ourselves and others, and we've been fed that we need to do this by this time and this and this and this and this. But in that case, you just need to ask yourself, what am I telling myself about who I am? I want to word that differently too. In my notes it sounded good, but I don't like it. What stories am I telling myself about who I am, and how sure am I that they're true? Yeah, okay. So, you have a lot of knowledge in your head about yourself. And I think that people seem to forget that a lot of the things that you have in your head about yourself are actually false. They're not even true. These are things that aren't even going on. Or aren't even accurate statements about yourself, that I'm a failure, I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm this. You keep saying those that you believe them to be true, but they're not. So you have to remind yourself when you feel like you're failing, what stories am I telling myself and which one of those are true? Maybe you're not unlovable. This was a huge one for me. At one point, I was told I was unlovable, and that really, really messed me up for a really long time, and I kept thinking I was unlovable, but maybe you've just received messages and been told things and gone through experience that make it very, very easy to forget your inherent lovability, because you are lovable, because you are human, you are lovable, period. You're lovable. Simple. Maybe you don't not belong. That's a huge one. I used to feel like I didn't belong anywhere I went with anyone. Maybe you've just grown up in a society that creates competition and applauds individualism and promotes exclusion, punishes pain, and generally makes it really, 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 really hard to remember you belong, no matter what. No matter who you are, where you are, you belong with someone. There is always going to be somebody that relates to you. If this person doesn't relate to you, fuck them. Excuse my language, but fuck them. Go hang out with somebody else. You will find someone just like you, 100%. That is a lie that you're telling yourself. If you say, oh no, there's nobody like me, you're lying. There are so many people. Here's another one. Maybe you're not too much. A lot of people have told me I'm too much. Maybe you just haven't been given the space for all of you to be accepted. You haven't been given the right environment for you to be embraced and accepted and loved for who you are. Okay? That was huge for me. So when you aren't given the space to be embraced and you're just in like the wrong crowd, it makes it really, really easy to feel like you don't belong with anyone. But you do. You just have to go find those people. So, to conclude this, because I only have 3 minutes, so fast, you should always challenge yourself and get really, really curious about the things that are in your mind about yourself and where they came from, because you can learn a lot about that. You should always ask yourself how you formed the things that are in your head, how you got those thoughts about yourself, because tracing back yourselves can really lead to kind of like a light bulb going off. And you're like, wow, that's why I feel that way. That's bullshit. I probably shouldn't. Why do I agree with that? But that happens. You should always question the systems that have been designed to make us feel a certain way about ourselves, like the unrelentless standards, the timeline everyone feels the need to go by, things like that, like going to college at a certain time, things like that. You should always question who made these standards and do I really agree with them, or am I just doing it because everyone else is doing it? You should remember, this is a huge one, you are capable of change. Just because you've done something for 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, you can change. If you don't like it, if it doesn't make you happy, change it. You 100% can. You 100% are strong enough to, and you're 100% mentally capable of making that change. So do it. You should always think about who you, I think I said this in the beginning, you should always think about who you were when you were born and the events that have happened in your life until now to make you who you are, to trace back your steps. And you want to figure that out, because it can make it really, really hard to honor yourself and your worth and your beliefs when things have been fed to you. I have 1 more minute. There are people who are in their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, and they're still trying to remind themselves that they're not broken, that they're not too much, things like that. So you are not behind. There is no timeline for mental health. There is no timeline for self-care. You are not behind. Just because this 20-year-old knows exactly who they are doesn't mean you're behind. There's 60-year-olds who don't know who they are. Figure it out on your own time, and don't give yourself standards. That doesn't matter. So to conclude this, I have 45 seconds. The questions that we ask ourselves tend to really, really help shift the judgments that we make about ourselves. So we often think that we know everything, but a lot of the things in our head are actual lies. So you want to take some time to examine each of those things and figure out what's true and what's not. And ask new questions, because it can be very, very, very illuminating. Like I said, that light bulb moment. and it can help you get closer to who you actually are, which is huge. So living and thinking about who we should be constantly causes us to miss out on the beauty of who we really are, and then we can't share who we are with the world, and that's a sad world.